Hi, hello, hi. I am your bearer of bad news, Captain Overdrive of the SS Hyperfocus, but you can just call me Max. So you remember childhood, right? Sweet days of youth and innocence. Being taught important life lessons like be kind, share, racism is good, and sometimes the Nuremberg defense is justified. No? Just me? Maybe you just don't remember it. For those unaware, The Sarah Jane Adventures was a children's TV show airing on the CBBC from 2007 to 2011. Created by Russell T Davies, it followed the eponymous Sarah Jane Smith, her son Luke, and his friends Clyde Langer, Maria Jackson, and Ronnie Chandra. It followed them through various adventures, from Luke's quote-unquote birth, to the time that this historian wanted to fuck the Mona Lisa, to the other time that this nightmare man wanted to fuck Sarah Jane. Look at all them teeth. Overall, a genuinely fun and wholesome show for kids. But we wouldn't be here today if there weren't some duds in the mix. Some more egregious than others. The Warriors of Cudlack was the third two-parter episode of the first series, first airing in October of 2007. The episode's plot is as follows. Luke is a fucking dweeb. Clyde is cool. Clyde tries to teach Luke how to be cool by playing laser tag. Maria wants Sarah Jane to be her new mum. Sarah Jane has been looking into the disappearances around this laser tag place. Luke thinks he's made the kids disappear when he finds out one of the kids had daddy issues. He plays more laser tag, finds out he's a Chad, and gets cozy with Clyde. Maria and Sarah Jane are trying to track down their boys. Clyde and Luke are in space. They try to start an uprising, but these kids are too downtrodden from being in boxes, and also in space. Maria and Sarah Jane commit crimes to get into space. They blackmail a man. Luke tells the alien that the war is over and that his mommy is fake. You win. Got it? Good. I'm not going over it again. So this episode seems fine, right? Wrong. Let me tell you why. First, we need to cover Cudlack. Cudlack is a member of the Uvadni race. 20 years before this episode, the Uvadni lost a war, and around this time, this was also when Cudlack was injured. Ever since, he has been kidnapping children to be child soldiers. Not great. In the episode, he is said to have kidnapped 24 children in just 1 year. He shows a willingness to murder innocent civilians in that he's fully willing to shoot Sarah Jane and Maria Jackson when he finds them in the back rooms of his laser tag place. He's also shown to take genuine joy in kidnapping kids. He's shown laughing as kids get beam me up Scotty to their little shipping crates. Only 5 kids are known to have survived what he did to them, excluding Luke and Clyde, because they have plot armor. He only turned on his mistress when it was revealed to him that there was no longer a benefit to serving her orders. So, brief intermission. The Nuremberg defense. When talking to people about this episode, because I do talk to people about this episode a lot, like hour-long rants, that's why I'm telling you, so that I don't have to torture my friends anymore. I've found that a lot of people don't actually know what the Nuremberg defense is. The Nuremberg defense was the Nazis' defense during the Nuremberg trials in order to not get done in for being Nazis. It was basically that they argued that they were just following orders and therefore should not be held accountable for their actions. Rather, their superior officers should. It didn't get them no jail time, just reduced sentences. Keep that in mind, will ya? As our secondary villain in the episode, we have Grantham. This E-boy prototype only took a minor role in kidnapping kids, and did it for less time than Cudlack and not for his own benefit. Really, he was more of a civilian informant. He would tell the kids, hey, come to my arcade place, it's a vibe, and then sort of stand by as they got zooted. But also, the entire time, his life is shown to be under threat from Cudlack, who's like, hey, if you don't help me kidnap these kids, I'm gonna wreck your entire shit. He's shown to not enjoy kidnapping kids. He specifically mentions that he had to rid himself of his conscience. He was the face of the operation, but he didn't violate any Geneva Conventions, so, not as bad as Cudlack. Not according to the main characters of the episode, though. The main characters like him less and specifically say that he is worse than Cudlack. I don't see how. Do you? Funnily enough, these men never defend themselves. Sarah Jane does it for them. Kudlak is immediately forgiven for his crimes and allowed to roam space freely, despite the fact that he has 20 years of violent crime under his belt and likely hundreds of violations of the Geneva Conventions. I did the math. If you were to just take his past year of criminal actions and give him the lightest possible sentence for all of those, he would still have 24 years in prison to go. Like, Sarah Jane, you are giving this man way too light a punishment. When the kids ask whether or not she's going to pursue legal justice against Grantham, she says no. She believes that he'll kidnap more kids eventually, and that's when he'll get his comeuppance, because more kids need to get hurt, don't they, Miss Smith? The moral of the episode is generally pretty unclear, but my best bet is hate the other cogs in the machine instead of the one running it. You know, hate the player, not the game. But maybe I'm being too harsh on her. Maybe she's just too much of a pacifist to ever think about punishing somebody. Maybe she doesn't want to be judge, jury, and executioner. Screw you, this isn't that kind of presentation. Let's talk about The Gift. The Gift is the two-parter finale to Season 3 of the Sarah Jane Adventures. The plot is as follows. The gang are fighting the Slitheen when they get into a bit of trouble. The Blathereen come to their rescue and get rewarded with immediate hostility and suspicion from 3 out of 4 rescuees. They have dinner and are gifted some dank rackweed. Everyone but Ronnie is suspicious of the plant, but they accept it anyway, because the Blathereen say it might solve world hunger. Turns out, it's a deadly fungus, and it's gonna kill everyone in a couple days. But its one weakness, loud noises, are conveniently located in every school, so the plants are eradicated. The Blathereen come down to Earth, mad that they failed, and get defeated by Sarah Jane. You win! Hooray! So, what's wrong here? The Blathereen are a blatant allegory for minority groups. Clyde specifically says that he doesn't like them because they look like the Slitheen. Luke doesn't like them because they come from the same planet as the Slitheen. Sarah Jane doesn't like them because she doesn't have good experiences with aliens bearing gifts, despite the fact that she herself has said that many of the objects in her attic are gifts from aliens. She also repeatedly tells the kids to keep an open mind to alien life. Why is this courtesy not extended to the Blathereen? Is it perhaps because they just don't look right? This is all when the only thing the Blathereen have done is save their fucking lives. Ronnie is the only character that tries to keep an open mind and tells the other characters to judge the Blathereen on how they act and not what they look like. So how do the Blathereen act? How are they depicted? They are grotesque and ill-mannered in that they are constantly farting and they are messy eaters. I don't get why they're constantly farting, considering the Slitheen only constantly fart because they're trapped in them little skin suits. But I guess kids find farting funny or whatever. I don't know. They are aggressive and violent. They kidnap Sarah Jane and bang their fists on the table whenever they get a little bit perturbed. They are untrustworthy in that they betray Sarah Jane and try to, destroy Earth. They are cruel in that they plan to leave Sarah Jane to be the last human alive so that she has to watch everyone she's ever known die. They are stupid in that they only lose because they get outsmarted by Sarah Jane. They are unempathetic, they are selfish, they hate kids, all of which are exemplified by the last point. They are addicted to drugs and are trying to kill everyone on Earth so that they can turn it into a drug farm. What? Let's talk about the war on drug parallels. The war on drugs has built the stereotype of anyone who uses drugs either being a lazy layabout or a violent criminal with homicidal tendencies. These stereotypes have consistently been used to harm minorities. In London today, a black person is 2.5 times as likely to be stopped and searched than a white person. The Metropolitan Police are 4 times as likely to use force against a black person than a white person. I would have used the statistics for the entirety of the UK, where a black person is 9.5 times as likely to be stopped and searched than a white person. But the UK government argues that everywhere but London is an outlier, and therefore shouldn't have been included. And honestly, I'll give them that. Because either way, it's still bad. In 2009, the numbers were even worse than they currently are in London. Black people were half as likely to use drugs, but 6 times as likely to be stopped and searched. They were also 34% more likely to be charged instead of cautioned for the possession of drugs. On another note, the war on drugs isn't great for people who are actually addicted to drugs. In general, having a compassionate response to those dealing with addiction is better for everyone. Portugal decriminalized drug use in 2001. They saw a more than 60% increase in treatment and an 80% decrease in overdose fatalities. Additionally, the number of people behind bars for drug offenses dropped by half. There are also lower rates of drug use and STD transmission. None of this seems to matter to Sarah Jane or her writers because they straight up murder the Blatherine. It was not an accident, it was not a split decision, or a heat-of-the-moment choice. Sarah Jane deliberately sets up the murder weapon with intent to kill before the next meeting with the Blatherine. She provides them with an ultimatum, and when they choose the choice that she dislikes, she calls upon Mr. Smith to use their addiction against them, to build up enough pressure within their internal organs that they explode all over the attic. Gruesome! She laments how there must have been a more peaceful way to resolve this, before resigning herself to the idea that this was the best option, and chiding Clyde for cheating on a test. But that's not even the worst part of this scene. The Blatherine are actually Slitheen Blatherine, coming from an inter-clan marriage long ago. The ultimatum that Sarah Jane gives to the Slitheen Blatherine is an appeal to the Blatherine side of their nature, as she's been assured that they are the softer, kinder side of the family. The Slitheen Blatherine tell her, in no uncertain terms, that they have been too corrupted by the Slitheen side of the family, and therefore are inherently evil. That reminds me of something. Have you ever heard of the one-drop rule? It's the idea that having 1 drop of black blood in your entire ancestral history corrupts your entire bloodline. You are no longer the respectable white family you once were, but black people trying to trick your way out of your God-given social class. Not a great ideology in general, if you ask me. I hate that the actual justification for why these aliens are evil in the episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures is the same as an element of Jim Crow laws. But I get what you might be thinking right now. Why are you telling me this? Stop harassing me with information I didn't ask for. Which is a fair point. But also, media has an impact on its viewership, and therefore the wider world, especially when it's made for children. Children will take the morals and biases given to them by media unquestioningly, as they are still forming their view of the world, and they don't know any better. As adults, it is our job to look back on the morals and biases we were given as children and see if they are useful for a fair and just society. And if not, then it's our job to work on discarding those biases so that we don't pass them on to the next generation. Both as a creative and as a member of society, it is our job to make sure that we are not perpetuating harmful stereotypes in our life and line of work, whether intentionally or not. At the very least, we should all strive to do better than Miss Smith.